What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Amon's Toxic Gamer 331. Back at it with another video. And today, I'm going to be doing my spoiler review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, of course, that means spoilers. If you don't want to hear spoilers, I suggest you probably leave the video right now. So, this is your spoiler. But before we get to the video itself, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free. Number two, we're on the road to 200 subscribers, just 72 away now. It really help out your boy if you could subscribe. That also goes for people that have been watching my channel for a while and haven't subscribed yet. Don't forget to like the video if you like my toxic movie reviews. Don't forget to ring the bell for all notifications to miss occasional upload. Also, do share the video because that'll also help me out. And do feel free to comment your spoiler thoughts on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse down below. Because, yeah. I said this in my regular review. I think this movie is my favorite movie of the year so far. The animation was stunning. All the different cameos and stuff was cool. And yeah, just everything. So let's start from the beginning of the movie, shall we? So that at the beginning of the movie, we follow, not Miles this time, we actually start with Gwen. And it kind of follows her backstory. Then it goes into her modern day story in her universe. Where, well, actually, she's in her modern day universe, but she's just like telling basically what happened when, and what happened in the past of hers. And I thought it was a very tragic backstory, because in that universe, Peter Parker ends up becoming the Lizard, and he wanted to do it because he wanted to be different like everybody else and kind of be cool or whatever, and which that eventually gets him killed by Gwen, and well, not by Gwen, but he accidentally dies, and Captain Stacy, aka Gwen's dad, ends up seeing Spider-Gwen basically over the body of Peter as he just died, and thought Spider-Gwen did it, even though not knowing it's Gwen yet. And yeah, that was quite a tragic backstory. And then we cut to her going to a museum to stop the Vulture in that building, the wooden version of Vulture that came from a different universe. And that eventually leads to Spider-Man 2099 and Spider-Woman both being introduced, Jessica Drew, that is. And they both end up using the Time Watch to get there and basically stop Vulture and bring him back to his regular universe. While they're talking or whatever, or while they're fighting him, they mention don't even get me started on that nerd and Doctor Strange on Earth 9999, which, if you guys didn't know, is actually them referring to Spider-Man No Way Home, where they made everybody know the identity of Peter Parker at the end and switched it around. So I thought that was a little cool Easter egg in there. It didn't show anything, of course, but it mentioned it. And then after that, Spider-Gwen wants to join the team or whatever, and she has to prove herself. So that's what that ends up leading to. And eventually, Spider-Gwen ends up getting caught and basically has no spider webs or whatever, and Captain Stacy ends up walking up on her, and Gwen reveals herself to be Gwen. And with this part, I was going wow, really? Because Captain Stacy was trying to basically bring her in, even though she was his daughter and knew that she didn't, even though she knows that she didn't kill Peter. So, and he was trying to bring her in, and then she ended up getting trapped in a time orb thing, and Spider-Gwen ended up following Spider-Woman and Spider-Man 2099, and that's and following them into their like spider world, excuse me. And that's when we get the title card, and then we follow Miles' side of the story. And as you would expect, probably, Miles' life is very convoluted because he has to deal with a lot of stuff as Spider-Man, and basically he doesn't have time for a lot of stuff, so that's what the problem is. And yeah, I thought the dynamic between the parents was quite good in this. I thought their relationship was nice, and yeah. Oh, I also forgot to mention, I forgot to mention this in my spoiler free review, that this soundtrack I think is good, but it's not as good as Into the Spider-Verse, so the first one. I don't think it was as good as the first one. Then we cut to, I believe I would like to say, oh yeah, so he ends up seeing that there's a robbery or whatever, and it's Spot or whatever, so the main villain of this movie. And it's funny at the start because Spot is like really funny at the beginning, but then he gets more intense in a very intense level threat later on in the movie. And basically, him and Spider-Man end up fighting each other or whatever, and Spider-Man accidentally punches himself in the face a couple of times, and that was pretty funny. And also, him calling Spot a Dalmatian or cow, that was pretty funny too. Then, like I said, they fight, and Spot eventually ends up getting tangled up in webs, and then Spider-Man meets up with his parents to talk about his tests in school or whatever, and that eventually leads to Spot getting untangled out of the webs, and both Miles' dad and Spider-Man both have to go. I meant Spider-Man is Miles, duh. I was about to say that. And they both end up chasing Spot again, and they end up stopping him, and he ends up going through one of his holes into the multiverse, where he discovers that he can go through different versions of the multiverse. And then this gives you the first cameo of Mrs. I forgot what her name was, but the Spot ends up going to live action form in Venom's universe, which I thought was cool, where he meets up with Mrs. The shop lady from the Venom movies. He ends up teleporting there, and the grocery shop owner person or whatever was going like, I've kind of dealt with this before, so you're not the freakiest thing I've seen. And Spot ends up getting thrown back into there. There's also some other universes he picked his head out in. The Lego Spider-Man universe, where he ends up like blowing up stuff by accident, and they end up, yeah, that was funny. I did not expect the Lego Spider-Man to pop up in there. That was quite hilarious. Hang on, I'm just putting okay, that character there, and that's pretty much the cameos there. And then he supposedly travels through more universes or whatever, which eventually leads to Gwen coming back to Miles's house and basically trying to reconnect with him. And they connect for a while, then Gwen realizes, well, Gwen is actually sent there to track the Spot villain because he came back. And then Miles didn't know it yet until he tried following Gwen after Gwen said she had to go for something or whatever, and that eventually leads to Miles following them in the multiverse tunnels or whatever, and trying to be a part of the team, which then travels to the Mumbai Spider-Man universe with the Mumbai Spider-Man, as I mentioned. Well, duh. I didn't mention it, but the Mumbai Spider-Man was quite funny in here and a nice little addition to the team. I liked him. and they basically ended up trying to stop Spot, Gwen, Miles, and the Mumbai Spider-Man. So that was cool. And then eventually, Spider-Punk ended up popping up, which I didn't like him at first, but as the movie went on, he became really funny, and I liked him quite a bit. And they try to stop Spot, which they fail, but they save some people instead, which we'll talk about the consequences of that later on. And yeah, that's pretty much that scene done. And Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, basically says, bring Gwen and Spider-Punk and Gwen and Spider-Punk, come back to base. And I mean you too, Miles. So that's what he said to Miles, basically. And Miles ended up going to the Spider-Man HQ, and you got a lot of Easter eggs in here. You saw the Spider-Man PS4 skin, which I was going like, yes, because I love that game so much. That game's really fun. And then also you saw, this one was unexpected. This one was the biggest one for me. You get to see Donald Glover, live-action form Donald Glover, be the Prowler in live-action form in the animated universe. I thought that was really cool and surprising that they could do that. Then I don't know if I'm saying this stuff a lot. That leads to them going to meet up with Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, and basically, Ben Parker, Spider-Man from the first one, the janky old hobo Spider-Man, as Miles called him, popped up again and to drop in and say hello, and it's revealed that he had a baby, and she has spider powers now too, so that's pretty funny. I'm trying to think what else happens there. Yeah, and then Miguel O'Hara basically says that the consequences of their actions by saving the captain or whatever in Mumbai Spider-Man's universe basically guarantees that universe is going to collapse on itself. And why Miguel then tells them why it is going to collapse, because he's dealt with this sort of thing before, because he visited a universe with him that had a family or whatever, and in that universe he dies, and he tried to reset it and make sure that he didn't die. And then that ended up leading to the multiverse collapsing on itself, that universe collapsing and being no more, basically, and killing that whole entire world. So he's basically trying to stop everybody from doing that. And then he sooner or later reveals that, wait, not yet. We're not going to talk about that yet. But he then talks about that every single Spider-Man has to deal with a tragic event of losing somebody. And then you get a sneak peek of Andrew and Captain Stacy from the first Amazing Spider-Man. You get to see that scene, and I was going like, ah! Which I got spoiled a little bit. I didn't watch the actual clip, but I sped past it on YouTube or whatever, and I saw Miguel O'Hara in his Spider-Man 2099 suit and Miles or whatever, and then I saw an A&D, and then I skipped past it because I'm going like, nope, and then I for some reason knew it was going to be freaking Andrew was going to pop up, which made me mad. Then also you get Easter eggs with Tobey Maguire and Uncle Ben in their universe as well. You get a little thing there. And also on the bottom right, I don't know, I haven't heard many people talk about this, but on the bottom right there is actually a clip of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game in that universe when Uncle Ben dies, which I thought that was interesting that they added that in there too. Then basically what's his name? Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, ends up telling Miles that in 2 days his father's gonna die. And Miles doesn't like that, and he wants to save him. But Spider-Man 2099 is basically telling him, you gotta let him die, or else your universe is gonna collapse. So rather, will you save one person over the rest, or just, excuse me, I just burped. Or just let a whole entire universe die, or whatever, or save the whole entire that universe. Does that make sense? And, yeah, I thought that was, an interesting tagline, because I thought I was a 50-50 situation. I was leaning towards more Miles, but yeah, that was quite a big oofy part in there. And Miles ends up getting surrounded by all the Spider people, which they also have Spectacular Spider-Man, which I know this is surprising, but I've never watched the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show. But I gotta get around to watching it. It might be on Disney Plus, I don't know, but I really want to watch that show. And he was there. Also, Agent Venom was there. If you guys could see that, what other stuff? Is that everybody? All the rest is just like comic book Spider-Man, so it's not really that big or anything. But, well, speaking of comic book Spider-Man, while Miles is getting chased by all of them to basically stop him from saving his dad or whatever, there's also a clip of like a comic book and the literal comic book Spider-Man like swinging or whatever, and it's like very slow. That was pretty funny as well. And is that everything there? Yeah. And Spider-Punk ended up staying behind and going like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna sit here and chill. And then that eventually leads to the train chase sequence, where basically Miles is trying to make it back to his own world, and Miguel O'Hara is chasing him very closely. And Gwen and Peter Benjamin Parker or whatever are trying to basically stop Miles too, which they don't want to, but they got to or whatever. And Miles ended up jumping off, successfully getting away, and ended up traveling back to his universe, supposedly. We'll get back into that one. And what happens next? Gwen ends up getting kicked out of the group and getting sent back to her universe, which it is revealed that Captain Stacy is no longer captain, and he resigned, which he was supposedly supposed to die. So that changes events in there, and changes her universe where he doesn't die. And Miles ended up sending Gwen another wristband thingy to make you travel through the multiverse, and basically got another one and traveled to Miles' universe as well. And you traveled to both of you traveled to Miles' universe, and Miles actually didn't go to that one, and Gwen went to that one, and Miles actually went to the one that the spider was created, that Spot created in that universe. And in that universe, his dad's dead. Prowler, his uncle, is actually like alive in there, and there's no Spider-Man in that universe. And a version of himself is the Prowler. And then it basically gets to the end of the movie, which this was like kind of the end for that part, but it also transitioned to also Gwen's story or whatever, where she's creating her own team to basically help Miles and save people and stuff, which had Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, Spider-Man Ham, Spider-Punk, and Mumbai Spider-Man. Those are all the Spider-Men like that decided to help. So, and then it transitioned back to Miles just staring at himself with braids. And then it cuts off. And I said this in my regular review, but people were very mad. Very mad. There was also one person sitting right next to me going, "What the bleep?" And then that was pretty funny. And everybody was going like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And then that was a 2 hour and 20-minute movies, and they were really upset. So, yeah. That was, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my favorite movie of the year so far, and I didn't dislike the ending as much as other people. I liked how they kind of ended it off, because there were a bunch of moments in this movie where I felt they could have ended it off, which I'm glad they ended it off there. And, yeah, overall, I gave this on my regular review an A+, and if you're wanting that in toxic meter form, I will give it a not toxic at all. So this movie is basically not on the toxic meter, which is a good thing, a great thing. So it's an A+ for me, and the only movie this year to get an A+. Well, with that being said, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this spoiler review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number 1, it's absolutely free. Number 2, we're on the road to 200 subscribers, just 72 away now. Really help out you, boy, if you did subscribe. That also goes for people that have been watching my channel for a while and haven't subscribed yet. Don't forget to like the video if you like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse content. Don't forget to ring the bell for notifications so you miss in case you want to upload. Also, do share the video because that also help me out. And do feel free to comment as well. With that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next one, everybody. Peace out.